so I gave you the extra time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Bylaw, questions?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker, through you. Did we do an appraisal of the site based on market value before we put in a bid? Madam Speaker, can you stop my clock?
Are the staff having problems turning their mic on?
No, I can certainly address that. I think sometimes it's not clear exactly which member have to be on point to answer. So I can answer this bit pretty Joe. Yes, an appraisal was conducted.
And based on that appraisal, when the second round of bids came in, you put a bid in the highest value on that appraisal?
Yes, that is correct.
And
yes, that is correct.
Did the site get sold over that at that price?
Yes, it did.
And when we expropriate sites, do we still have to pay market value for the site?
Yes, we pay market value in addition to additional costs. So it's market value plus.
So market value plus, and would you say that the baseline now is what it's been sold for?
Yeah, I mean, the courts look for, and certainly invite other members of staff who are more experienced with it, the courts would look to establish value, a sale, an immediate sale, in the immediate time period would certainly validate the market value, and then on top of that.
How long can an expropriation process take?
It can take, in my experience, upwards of 2 years. Again, I invite the legal staff to provide any support.
So to the Housing Secretariat, do you agree that we need more supportive and affordable housing in East Downtown Toronto?
Through the Speaker, yes, absolutely, we do need to see more affordable housing options.
And how many units are we have in the planning and development process right now in East Downtown?
Through the Speaker, so right now we have around 1,000 units of affordable rental in some form of planning or development. We have about 140 units of supported housing, and then an additional about 300 units of a mixture of affordable and supported, and that's across a wide variety of sites across the entire community.
And that's in the East Downtown neighborhood. Is your plan that is coming at the next Planning and Housing Committee going to address the Dan Harrison and then address even further developments in the area, further opportunities?
Through the Speaker, yes, that's what we've been asked to do through that report, is really identify some options in relation to Dan Harrison, but I think more broadly identify how we can best implement the Downtown East housing strategy, which includes the growth of all types of housing in that area, but specifically supportive and affordable housing that's suitable, affordable, and accessible to the local residents that live there now.
So one of the things that I heard and executive through the deputations is the need to have a downtown housing strategy, because everybody agrees we need more supportive housing, more affordable housing. We're developing 1,500 units. We still need a strategy. We need more. We need to redevelop Dan Harrison. Is the goal to ensure that we're spending the money in the most effective way so that we can get the highest number of units and the deepest affordability of units in this neighborhood that so desperately needs it?
And through the Speaker, that is definitely part of this consideration. Obviously, there's a limited amount of funding available for both at the city level, but also at other levels of government. So that strategy is designed to highlight future site opportunities that we might bring forward, as well as some of our pressure points in relation to existing housing. So yes, value for money and the best way to deliver the most number of units is definitely a big part of our consideration.
Thank you. Councillor Bradford, question?
Thanks, Madam Speaker. Just a couple quick questions to clarify here. How many units were originally proposed on this parcel, on these sites? Or estimated?
So through you, Madam Chair, it was estimated, so we did some massing work, it was estimated that average of 500 square foot units, you could approximately about 340 units, 330 to 350 units could be developed.
Okay, and what was it, thank you, what was the proposal ratio of market to affordable units in that context?
Well, I'll say that would be a decision of council in terms of how to break it down. I think our typical housing now, if this site was deemed to be a housing now site, we would aim to do a minimum of 1/3 affordable. And we have modeled costing, the economics around what it would look like. 1/3 affordable, 50% affordable, 20% affordable. You can take council through those numbers in camera.
Okay, noted on the camera piece there. But so 30% is sort of like the floor now, and we're trying to be more ambitious on other sites. 50%, this is a downtown site, let's assume we could get there. So with the 340 units, you're looking at maybe 170 units can be affordable in that sort of context, hypothetical proposal.
Through you, Madam Chair, that is correct.
Okay, and from Councillor Bylaws questions, it was my understanding we were not successful in securing the site through a market acquisition.
That is correct.
Okay, and we effectively were outbid. That's what that means.
Yes, that is what that means.
Okay, so do we have additional sites in the area, city-owned sites, in proximity in the area close by?
Through you, Madam Chair, Councillor Bradford, yes, we do. We do have a housing now site in the vicinity of 405 Sherburne that we are working on, that's been identified by Creatino and approved by council as a site in a future phase of housing now. There's the Dan Harrison site, the TC site that the Housing Secretary considered, and there are other city-owned programming is situated, and we're all looking to find ways to better utilize that real estate in terms of creating it more efficiently, more economies of scale. So yes, there's other.
You cut out a bit there, Vic, but my understanding is there are adjacent sites, a number of them. We are looking at them. Housing Secretariat's looking at that as well. I guess the question is, if we are taking into account land acquisition costs, if we are paying market value, which has been reestablished, plus the additional cost of going through an expropriation process, are we in a better position to deliver more affordable units and more units writ large on other sites if we're already a landowner?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, absolutely we are. Land value in the city, land acquisition costs in the city of Toronto, or of course in the downtown, are very expensive. And if we, the whole Housing Now program, and most of our affordable housing programs are predicated on us already owning the land, and so our money will go much further on providing the affordability than on land acquisition.
Just lastly, expropriation process, is that a fast process? Is that a process that takes some time?
Through you, Madam Chair, it's from my experience, it's a process that takes some time.
Is it fair to say if we already own the land and we're not bypassing, if we're not going through an expropriation process, we can move forward with delivering units faster if we don't have to expropriate?
Yeah, that would be accurate.
Okay, those are all my questions. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any for Councillor Fletcher, questions?
I just wanted to be clear on the expropriation process. And if we move to expropriate, would we be expropriating or offering the amount that we may have bid? or would we have to meet or match or best the offer from the
At the end of the day, through you, Madam Speaker, at the end of the day, matter would go to the Ontario Land Tribunal, and the tribunal would determine the market value of the property, and that is the amount that the city would have to pay.
So that could be less, more, or a lot more at that point. Yes?
Yes.
It would have to go to the land tribunal. We've done that before, but I didn't know it had to go.
Unless we settle the matter, there are incentives for an owner not going to the Ontario Land Tribunal when substantial value is in play.
In the previous one that I was involved in, actually, with Mr. Kupta, yeah, the owner must have been amenable to, under certain conditions, agreeing to the calling an acquisition, correct? Acquisition.
We can often settle the matter. That's correct, Councillor.
And if I was to ask about numbers and how much things were, is that something you can tell me? Or is that in-camera conversation?
That would be an in-camera matter.
I see. Do we happen to know what the sell price was for this place?
I'm not familiar with that information, Councillor.
It's Pat Matroso, Councillor Fletcher. Through you, Madam Chair. We don't believe that the broker that's leading the solicitation has finalized a deal with any of the proponents. We have not been notified as of yet.
Have we been notified we're not one of them?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Sorry.
That's right.
We have, through you, Madam Chair, and Councillor Fletcher, we have been notified that the bids that they were moving ahead with were higher than ours.
Say bids? Are there multiple bids or one consortium making one bid? Sorry.
No, and maybe I'll invite Prem, Brooker-Reed to answer that.
We don't know how many proponents have put forward above us, but we believe there are more than one proponent that they're negotiating with.
And was there a threshold where others were this is the threshold we have to meet today?
Yeah, Pat, through you, Madam Chair, there was a threshold that we were verbally told by the broker that there was an expectation that the bids would be above that threshold. Our top end of our appraised value was not at that threshold, which is the offer that we made in our second round.
Okay, and maybe I've gone over this before, but I think it's important to understand. The broker informed the interested bidders that there is a threshold that may or may not have met the market value. They may have put it above market, I don't know if they did or not, but they were establishing a threshold through the broker as to what bids would then be contemplated based on that threshold.
That is correct.
You have to meet the threshold this time of year.
That is correct. However, through you, Madam Chair, the city, we had put in an initial offer, and then we were, even though we did not meet that threshold, we were invited to participate in a second round. And at that point, they informed us that they were moving ahead with other bidders.
And they would have gone to second round with the threshold, we would have to meet that threshold.
That is our presumption, yes. And these are all kind of discussions that we've had, but yes, that what we were told, we put in our offer at the highest end of the appraised value. We were told after that second submission that we were no longer being considered and we were moving ahead with other bidders.
On our appraised value.
On our appraised value, correct.
That was your last question. Thank you. Mayor Tory, questions?
Speaker, yes, I just wanted to follow up on some of the questions that have been asked. I know we can't get too granular about this, but maybe
for starters, would it be fair to say, and I don't know if this goes to Mr. Cook or otherwise, but would it be fair to say that the difference between the threshold and what we understand to be this rough magnitude of what was paid was not sort of $50 or $50,000, but was in the millions of dollars?
To you, Madam Chair, yes, Mayor, that is our understanding.
And is it also fair to say that it's actually in the tens of millions of dollars? And again, I don't know all exactly the numbers. I guess nobody has that officially because the broker hasn't done the deal yet. But is it in the tens of millions of dollars, the difference between what our top end and what we understand to be what might have been actually paid in the deal that you have to be consummated? Tens of millions.
Through you, Madam Chair, I think that would be an assumption that we would make. Just being careful and we don't trade into areas that, yes, that would be our understanding, Mayor, but that would be an assumption that we are making based on the threshold that was set and based on our appraised value in our bid.
Okay. Now, switching over to legal, if I can. Well, it's understood that it goes to the land tribunal and they make a decision, and that also there could be a negotiated settlement. Is it fair to say that in most cases, where there actually was a transaction involving this very piece of land and subsequently it was expropriated, it's likely that any kind of ruling, say, from the Ontario Land Tribunal would be something close to what was actually paid, since that is obviously the best indicator one could have of the market value of the property? Is that fair to say?
That's a fair assumption.
Okay, and now to Ms. Bond. When we put together housing projects, affordable housing projects in particular, where we're making a contribution as a city, and sometimes the other governments are too, I'm assuming the land cost, whatever that might be, and goes into the calculation on a per unit basis of what it's going to cost us to put the affordable housing on a particular piece of land. Is that correct?
Through the speaker, yes, absolutely. So when we're evaluating options for investment, sometimes the land is ours already, and so that we use the land value as kind of our investment in making this project happen. So that's part of the way that we actually get affordable housing, is by kind of not placing the burden of the land value which we already own on projects. And then we also look for options when we're out in the market. We're looking for options, be the acquisition of land or land and buildings for really good value, where we perhaps have to buy land and buildings and renovate, but we can still do that at a price and hit the kind of criteria thresholds that often other investors like the province or the federal government are looking for. So we're really careful to try and make sure that any money we invest is going as far as we can.
So within that same context, if to use the answers that I got from Mr. Gupta, just to pick a round number and say, okay, let's say hypothetically the cost of buying this land now through expropriation would be $10 million more than we're prepared to bid. That $10 million, if we were building 200 units and using round numbers, would then take the cost per unit of that housing up by $50,000. Am I correct?
And through the speaker, yes, you're correct. I think the other point here is that we're often using, the land value is often included in our estimates already, and one of the things we're often using is the revenue that we get from other types of housing on the site, be that market rental or condominium development, to actually create the affordable housing in the first place. And so we would need here to both cover the cost of the land value and also invest further to make sure that the project is actually built as well. So there would be kind of likely a double need to invest on the part of the city.
Thank you. My final question, speakers, to probably somebody from Prem, Mr. Joseph. Are there instances in which we try to buy properties for one reason or another where we get outbid?
There are.
And so my question was going to be, in the event that happens, how often would it be the case that if we got outbid on a piece of property we tried to buy, that we would then move to expropriate it?
In my 3 years of being in this, through Madam Chair, in my 3 years of being in this position, that hasn't happened.
Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Grimes, questions?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And my question is to Mr. Ratozo. Pat, we've heard from Mr. Gupta there. Do you agree in the appraised value that they put on this building?
through Madam Chair to you, Councilor Grimes, the city always has to transact at fair market value. We hire appraisers to assist us in determining that appraisal, and then based on that appraisal, that's what we submitted our bid at.
Great. And I remember we were trying to buy a building in my ward a few years back to add to the park. And we had two of the buildings on both sides, but the middle building was it was appraised lower than what we want to pay for. So my understanding, the city cannot overpay for buildings if they're not appraised. And so let's say it was appraised at $1 million, we couldn't pay $1.3 million. That's what I was told at the time, that the city cannot overpay for buildings that are appraised that wouldn't get appraised. Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Chair, that is true. We always transact at fair market value, and we rely on experts in the appraisal market to provide that expertise. I'll take fair market value.
And this for the affordable housing unit. In Plymouth threshold, what we do pay, like when we buy a building, we're going to build affordable, like what we really want to pay per unit for affordable housing. Do we have like a threshold what we're looking to pay? Is that a floating number, or do we have a number that we say, yeah, this makes sense, and over this it does not make sense?
To the speaker, yes, we do. I think it would be better if we had those discussions in camera, because obviously we're still active in the market looking for properties for future affordable housing programs. So it's probably wise for us not to discuss the kind of threshold that we're looking at. But yes, we do have an idea in mind about what makes sense for us to purchase, what that threshold is.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. If we can clear the screen, we'll go to speakers. Councillor Wong-Tam to speak.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I do have a motion I would like to move. If the clerk can please put that on the screen for me. The motion is to have City Council direct staff to move towards expropriation. That is, the motion is broken down to three parts. I should explain that to start off with. That seems pretty self-explanatory at this point. Motion number 2 is to ask the CEO of Cratio to initiate negotiations with the property owner of the Plaza Strip Mall that is directly southwest corner. This is a property that's adjacent to the 214-230 Sherburne property. Whoever purchased the 214-230 Sherburne properties will most likely need this site. And if there's a way for the city to perhaps do a joint partnership, let us do that. I know that the property owners were interested in selling, and I know that Cratio staff had been in conversations with them at one point. They can report back at the upcoming May Planning and Housing Committee to that effect. And then the third motion is to have the chief planner initiate a pre-application working group with stakeholders to help us determine the terms of reference and the immediate priorities for the area. And that is anticipation of us not moving to expropriation, us sort of sitting and waiting until one day the developer walks through the door with a rezoning application in hand. At least we would have taken a modest proactive gesture to try to head it off. Madam Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity here. I think a couple things I want to highlight for members of council, and I deeply regret the fact that the acquisition report of the Sherburne properties is here without the accompanying report that is due to planning and housing regarding the Dan Harrison Community Complex in the next meeting of planning and housing. I have done everything I can to possibly line it up so that we can have a comprehensive and full discussion on how to unlock the potential that sits at Sherburne and Dundas. This is a troubled neighborhood by all accounts. We are overrepresented with respect to crime, with respect to poverty, and with respect to just social despair. But it's also a neighborhood that's highly resilient. These are community members that really know what it takes for them to build complete neighborhoods that will allow them to be healthy, to be safe, and to do well. Which is why it is so critical, Madam Speaker. One of the first things I did when I took office as the councillor east of Sherburne, prior to that my ward stopped at Sherburne, was to take a look at what were the conditions east of Sherburne. One of my
first visits was to the Dan Harrison Community Complex, 430 residents living in 376 units of social housing, and I can tell you that the building is mostly 50% vacant. Why is it, Madam Speaker, that in a housing crisis, we have vacant units owned and managed by the City of Toronto through TCHC? It's because it's not safe, it's not desirable. I've met residents who cry to me, asking, when are you going to fix my housing? What is the City of Toronto going to do to support Sherbourne and Dundas? And when will the city actually meet its obligation to make sure that this neighborhood gets the resources that it needs? We just debated a report, Madam Speaker, around modern TO. There's 3 properties on Board 13 that will be released. It will be released to the market, it will be sold. We're putting about $400 million of assets right on the table for the City of Toronto. Some of those funds will be redirected from the disposition into a new acquisition fund. That's great. I welcome that. The first Parliament site, which is another site in Ward 13, we're going to be putting that property. We're going to receive some funding from the province, and I anticipate that it's probably going to go from $160 to $200 million coming back to the city coffers. What I'm asking for, Madam Speaker, is that we're already $600 million of cash coming into the city coffers from the wealth that's generated from the community. We'd like to put some of those dollars back into the community for the community members, especially since this is not just about acquiring one property, Madam Speaker. Not at all. This is about uplifting an entire neighborhood that has been left behind. This is about making sure that the residents of Dan Harrison and all the residents who live in the neighborhood know that the city is deeply committed to supporting them and helping them. I cannot go through, and I don't think any of us would ever want to walk through the neighborhood without looking at the residents and telling them that we did everything we can to support them. And by supporting them, it means that we have to make some strategic moves. One of those strategic moves is buying a property that is strategically connected to the well-being of a neighborhood. It's not just about the cost of a unit or 2. It's not just about, whether or not we buy this parcel of land or that parcel of land. It's about this parcel of land because it's tied to the intricate potential uplifting an entire area. You are going to be making a decision of whether or not you want to lift the entire neighborhood by the acquisition. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any further speakers on the item? Councillor Bylaw.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to start by acknowledging the work of the local councillor. She's always been championing this neighborhood, and I think that a lot of the work that we heard, even our executive director from the Housing Secretariat explaining that there's 1,500 units in the planning and development process right now in the East Downtown, has been always a recognition of the local councillor and of this council that this is a neighborhood that needs a plan, that needs attention, and that needs us to be making sure that we're using the money in the most efficient way. And I wish we had won that bid. I think that it could have been an important addition to the neighborhood there. What I'm grappling with is to ensure that with the money and the resources that we have, that we spend it in the most efficient way. And when I start thinking of spending $800 or $1 million to create one unit of supportive housing that is going to take years down the road, I start to question if that's the best use of our money. I could go off and start buying units right now and start housing people tomorrow. So, and we're building units right now, and we are doing more, and that's exactly what I think we need to do. It's not about the site, it's about the neighborhood, and it's about using the resources in the most.
Councillor Bylaw, hold on, I'm going to put you on pause. Okay.
Show me. You go to that corner and you say, are you going to build condos? And hundreds and thousands of people have a house. And you look at this condo, that housing is not for me. It's not for the people here, and it's not for the people up there. So you have to stop that. Condos and property go from $40 million to $60 to $70 million. But it sits empty for 14 years. 14 years and sat empty. Why don't you do something else?
Councillor Barlow.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. There's, as I was saying, we have the Downtown East Housing Strategic Plan coming to the next Planning and Housing Committee that is going to address also the Den Harrison, which is an issue that we've heard many times from TCHC, from local council, from the local community, and the need and the opportunities for other supportive and affordable housing. I think we need to embrace the plan, and again, to make sure that we're building these units as fast as we can, as in the most fiscally responsible way, so that we can really produce the highest amount of units so that we can house people properly in this community. So those are my remarks.
Thank you. On favor?
Can I ask that we split 1, 2, and 3 and vote on them each separately?
Vote on 1, 2, and 3 separately? Okay. 1.
Oh, Madam Speaker, on a point of order, and I apologize, on point of personal privilege, I should say, recommendation number 3, there is an error. The last sentence, it should say to identify affordable housing priorities for the site, not properties. The clerks, were they able to get that? Okay, thank you.
Let's try to get this corrected.